What's up guys, this is David, Matt and Ali, and thank you for choosing Livewire to keep up with your gaming news. Today we are continuing one of the channel's main series of Ghost Recon Wildlands.
In particular, in this video, we'll be taking a look at the Santa Blanca drug cartel hierarchy, mainly looking at the members of the cartel, and how each of them relate to the story, and the progression of the game overall.
As always guys, remember to give this video a like rating at some point to support continued coverage of Wildlands, and feel free to subscribe if you're new to the channel for more. Okay, so just quickly, we'll explain the overall point in the game. The main idea of the story is to take down El Sueno, but first weaken him by destroying his people around him and therefore his business. Here we can see the Santa Blanca cartel hierarchy. So as we can see, we have El Sueno, the main bad guy who is the reason we are in Bolivia in the first place, but we also have 4 other characters who work for him, each leading in a certain operation of the regime. Under them, we also have what appears to be 5 other mini-leaders who work for the main characters. You must take down each of the 4 operation leaders, and to do that, you need to take down the people below them.
For example, if you remember back to some of the E3 gameplay, you will remember El Pozolero, the guy who melts bodies. We can see him here and we can see how he works in the security operation. Being one of the main 5 mini-bosses, we must kill in order to get to El Monroe, the head of security. Interestingly, capturing him at the E3 demo took around 2 side missions and 1 final mission depending on how you played it. So that gives us some indication of campaign scale and how in depth the entire game will be.
To add to this, we also know that there is over 100 story missions to take care of in order to slowly take down El Sueno. We can see some of the missions from this picture here. Some will be major missions with your action causing consequences to the game, some will be smaller kind of filler side quest missions, and some will be to help the rebel group called the Guitarist 26. By helping them, they can then help you with reinforcements during missions. It's up to you to pick and choose when and how you do each of the missions you see here. There is no order and you can literally do whatever you want. So now we'll take a look at the 4 main operation leaders and El Sueno. We have Nidia Flores, the head of the drug trafficking operation, El Cardenal, the head of the influence operation, El Yayo, the grandfather, head of production, El Muro, the head of security, and the main man from all the trailers and the main bad guy in the game, El Sueno.
So, Nidia is head of the drugs trafficking operation and controls the packaging and transporting of the Santa Blanca's final product within Bolivia and internationally. Nidia is 39 years old and is known as the beauty queen within the cartel. Having lived through a violent and traumatic childhood, she began dating narcos while using them to rise through the organization. She uses the persuasion of beauty, manipulation, and her wit to make sure the Santa Blanca's product is delivered safely. She's clever, analytical, strong, and independent within a predominantly man's world, and uses all of this to get the Santa Blanca cocaine to its customers. Presumably a target of the ghosts, she seems like she will be a lot to handle, with potentially a lot of bodyguards willing to show how far they will go to protect and serve her.
We now move on to a more unsightly character in the form of this man, El Cardenal, or simply Gustavo Serrano. At the age of 68, he is head of influence and also a preacher of the Santa Blanca cartel. His role is to control public image, be it via general propaganda, church services or radio. He is a strong believer that to gain a person's loyalty you must improve their quality of life, and so preaches the Santa Blanca better way of living to the people of Bolivia. Fanatical, loud and boisterous, he is one of El Sueno's closest advisors, and is a true believer of the Santa Blanca regime. So much so it was him who suggested that El Sueno should write his own Bible.
Next up we have El Yayo, or El Yayo, I'm not quite sure, but he's also known as the grandfather. He was a major drug producer in Bolivia before the cartel came to town, and now he works for them after his family were threatened. He no longer does this job out of choice anymore, he is physically forced to do it. The reason he does that is because he'll do anything to protect his people, and that could potentially make him a traitor to either the people of Bolivia for accepting his position with the cartel, or a future traitor to the cartel, as it does say he would rather work a deal than resort to violence. Perhaps the Ghost could somehow figure out a way for him to kind of work with the Ghost in some way. Perhaps they could threaten him or use his family as sort of bait to make him do it. But whatever ways the Ghost decide to do, he will soon need to choose his loyalties or face death.
The last of the 4 main operation leaders is El Monroe, nicknamed the Wall. He is the best friend of El Sueno, and probably El Sueño's most trustworthy guy, hence why he is head of security and is his personal bodyguard. Apparently his umbilical cord was cut with a shard of broken mirror, used for lining cocaine, so that's pretty hardcore. Having risen through the ranks of the Mexican military, he is described as a highly trained professional and is the closest thing to a Mexican cartel ghost that you'll ever see, so he will be very hard to take down in game.
So who is this man El Sueno, you're probably wondering? He is the all-out leader of the Santa Blanca cartel. Having started off at an early age of 12 as a hitman for the cartel, he had his roots stuck firmly in the cocoa leaf regime. With a vision of the Holy Land for the Santa Blanca Holy White, he gained the resources of Nidia, who we mentioned earlier, and moved the cartel to Bolivia. He is rumoured to have spoken with the Santa Muerta, the personification of death, and has knowledge of the truth, which he wrote about in a Bible for his followers. The man is described as a brilliant leader, religious but yet violent, always being truthful but yet responsible for mass murder, and charitable but yet brutal, offering schools, jobs and churches, but with the punishment for non-acceptance being the murder of entire families. People ask if he's crazy, or is he really the greatest manipulator of all time? All the ghosts know is that he must be stopped.
So there we have it. That's all of the cartel members we will be up against and how each of them relates to the main storyline. Thank you for watching. As always, a like rating is always appreciated, and you can check out all of our coverage of Ghost Recon Wildlands by clicking our YouTube playlist here.
Or you can get to know us better in our weekly comment show here. Once again guys, thanks for watching this video and subscribe if you're new.